Good evening, everybody. How's it going? Darth Thrift, hello. Here early. Look at this, an early comer to the stream. Um, Quick one to talk about. Rasa and I had a chat last night on her channel, so if you want to check that out, go ahead and have a listen. I hadn't read a lot at that point. I've since read quite a bit more, so I thought I'd jump on and talk about a couple things. Let's talk about the first thing, though, that I missed, and I'm very, very disappointed in myself. From 1993, Japan grindcore band Unholy Grave, absolute fucking legends. They were in town last night, and I goddamn missed it. I've been listening to them for, geez, I don't know how long, probably since the late 90s at the very late, at the very earliest. So I'm super disappointed that I missed them. They're doing 3 Canadian dates. I don't even know what the other Canadian dates are. It doesn't say on here, but really disappointed that I missed them. And then not too long before that, these guys I have seen before live, and they were phenomenal. Primitive Man were here. I missed them this time through. And if you like kind of heavy, dark, doomy, sludgy music, Primitive Man are unbelievable. Right up there with the Japanese band Corrupted. For me, Corrupted is, in my opinion, the kings of kind of really dirty, filthy sludge. But Primitive Man are so fucking good. They were fantastic to see live. I think it was them opening for Weed Eater. One of the when I saw them, I'm pretty sure that was the pairing. I don't know who else it would have been. Anyway, really great stuff. So, couple of shows. I gotta learn to keep my eye on stuff. Like I said, very disappointed that I missed Unholy Grave. And if you don't know Unholy Grave and you're a fan of grind, you should check it out for sure. What I did end up seeing, though, was we did go to see Noel. Met a couple of the guys from the band, and they were kind enough to sign the record. Got a shirt, got a sticker that you can see right up there. Such a good show. They do a great job of kind of like creating this atmosphere. The criticism I would have is that the sound in the club that we went to see him wasn't the best. It didn't ruin it for me. It sort of made it more of a wash. You couldn't pick out as many details. There's a live clip. I'll see if I can find it and link it in the description here, from, I think it's a tour data last year. The recording is fantastic. You get a little more of the detail, but it gives you a little bit of a look at what they do live. I also do get a kick out of his very extreme, over the top kind of facial expressions, the vocalist and his frowning and stuff. It really, the whole thing feels kind of theatrical. Once they finish their set, they go and man the merch table, so they don't have somebody with them to kind of do stuff. They use that as an opportunity. They were taking photos with people ahead of us and having little chats and stuff, which was really great to see. And then, like a friend of mine who was there said, it's nice to just buy stuff. He wasn't the biggest fan of the music necessarily. He ended up buying a shirt anyway, because it's really good to kind of put the money directly into the band's hand. You know that touring Canada, or at least a few dates in Canada, we also got a kick out of. They came to Winnipeg first, then they went to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, then they were going to Edmonton, and they were going to Calgary, and then they were going back to the States. For us here, especially living in the prairies, Saskatchewan and Manitoba, we love that shit because everybody always bypasses us, it feels like, to do either the East or West Coast, and we get left out of a lot of stuff. So it's great that the first show was in Winnipeg, the second one was in Saskatoon, which is even smaller than we are. Hell, even smaller than Regina, I think, in Saskatchewan. So, yeah, great to see them live. I'd see them again and again if you're into that kind of stuff. I think they are pretty fun to see. It is definitely more on kind of the theatrical side of things for sure, though. They're not trying to present themselves as these very bleak, dark. You get a real sense of performance, which I don't mind at all. So yeah, it was great. Really, really great show. So what did we read this week? Um, talk a little bit about it. I mentioned it last week. Darth Thrift, you love Weed Eater. Have you seen them live? I've seen them live a number of times. They're probably one of my favorite bands to see live. They've really got a shtick. Dixie Dave really has a shtick going on. He's got some lines that he loves to say, and some songs he'll play. I've seen tons of live footage of them. They play things exactly the same. In Austin, you saw him in Austin, amazing. Yeah, really, really solid show. And again, you get the sense we met them the first time they came through, and a buddy of mine asked if they wanted to go out and get high, and he said, "No, we're at work. We're not. We do that after work. We got to go to work." Which was kind of funny if you know his history with what was it, Buzzoven, right? That was the band he was in before. So first up, TMNT Journeys. This is issue number 1, and it's kind of reprinting. I think what I read online, reprinting for the first time, volume 4 of the Ninja Turtles, and this is Peter Laird and Jim Lawson, which is fucking killer, and it is gorgeous. Like I said, from page 1, inside cover, such a fun book. This is stuff again like I didn't grow up. I don't have the same attachment to the turtles that a lot of people do, but this is incredible stuff. These silent pages, excuse me, are pretty great. Almost touches of Lesniewski in some of these forms and shapes here, and just kind of the way the black and white sits on the page. Matt Lesniewski. Just seems like it's going to be a fun story. It really takes into consideration that they are getting older. Some of these books, it's great when they acknowledge their history, and you see the characters kind of getting older within the story, or at least and unlike in a Seinfeld way where they never learn anything, and that's kind of the premise. This is nice to see that kind of development, and I'm such a fan of this era of art. I think it looks beautiful. They did a really nice job putting this out on some glossier paper. Yes, of course, it would be great if it was on some sort of newsprint, but this still looks very sharp. So very excited about this one. When Rasa and I were chatting, the new Ninja Turtles series is only going 12 issues, and that's going to be it. So the Jason Aaron run, it's going to be done right away, which is a real bummer because that's one book that's been getting better and better as it's gone on. So a little bit of a disappointment. Speaking of a little bit of disappointments, I just finished reading just before hitting live. I just finished reading the second issue of Aliens Havoc. So it's a 2-issue miniseries. And the draw in this one is Late Night Crack, Elder God. How you doing, man? The draw in this one is that you get a ton of artists that are each doing a page. So, for example, in this first issue, you've got Duncan Fegredo, Disraeli, John Totleben, Arthur Adams, Pete Bagg is in here, Dave Taylor's in here, Kelly Jones, Guy Davis, etc. In the second issue, you got like Mike Allred, Sergio Aragones, you got fucking David Lloyd, you got Mobius, P. Craig Russell. So a lot of kind of heavy hitter names. The basic this was a really hard one to follow. The rub is that how we're going to have all these different artists is that there's going to be this entity that's been left in this spaceship, and our kind of cast of characters are going to find this ship, and that entity is going to take over people's bodies to communicate with the rest of the crew. And every time they take over someone else's body, we see everything from their perspective. So the scene changes because you're now looking at things through someone else's eyes. And I understand that basic idea, and I think on paper that idea sounds pretty good to kind of stitch together this idea of having a lot of artists. The problem is it's kind of difficult to follow. Even when you do know that, you still get I found myself still getting a little disoriented. And also then when you look at some of the artists, yeah, they got some big names, but for some reason everybody's art ends up, unless you're somebody like Sergio Aragones, which I'll show you in a minute when we do a quick flip through, unless you have a very extremely different or cartoony style, I felt there was something about it where everybody's art sort of looked the same. Hell, even looking at the page from Mobius, which I think is the page from Mobius in issue 2, it didn't read to me as him. There was some nods to it, I guess, but it was really hard to kind of decipher. Yeah, I mean, here's a great example. So that's clearly Pete Bagg, but the thing is, his style is so much different than anybody else's. They're going to stand out. There was a lot of people's style where it was it sort of fit into kind of a generic type of house style. So I don't know. I mean, if you're a fan of Aliens in general, you might get something out of this. Speaking of Elder God, I know Chicho is a big fan of the Aliens franchise. It's a neat one to kind of pick up and have a flip through, especially if you find it in the cheap bin. But I don't know if it was one out of all this Aliens stuff that I've been reading, this Dark Horse stuff. I'd say this one's a bit lower on my list of things to really kind of hunt for. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, this was a good page too. This John Pound. So John Pound comes from kind of underground comics. Dope Comics was one of the titles. And I really like his page, but again, his style is a little more cartoony as well. But I love these figures and the way they're lunging there. There's just a really nice looking page. So like some of it does work, but I just found that not enough of it was working. And then on top of it, the story was just okay, I guess. They were experimenting. This entity, when he was in human form, was experimenting with the Queen's, what do they call it? The Queen's jelly, to try to like communicate with the aliens, I think. And it caused this kind of ability for even the aliens themselves to kind of have this psychic link. So he gets killed and he realizes the error of his ways. So he forces his body or his kind of soul or whatever it is to kind of stick on the ship. So this, I think, is the Mobius page. And it's really hard to discern exactly if that's him because Dave Cooper comes up after him. And I think that reads as Dave Cooper to me. But anyway, so he ends up staying there and kind of trying to communicate with them and the importance of destroying these aliens, et cetera, the usual kind of drill. Yeah, so it didn't work too well for me for kind of those reasons. We were just talking about it on Sunday. Yeah, I was watching the stream back. I watched it back, or chunks of it anyway, not the whole thing. And I saw that somebody was mentioning Aliens, the TV show, because I haven't seen the TV show yet either. So I'm curious to see what that's like. Was Sunday the barbecue stream or was that the cooking stream there, Elder God? Now, on the flip side for Aliens, 4-issue series called Aliens Earth War. So I think when Dark Horse did stuff, I believe they had Volume 1 of Aliens, Volume 2 with Danny Beauvais from Warlock 5, which I would love to get. And then this was the third volume, and this was with Sam Keith. And when you hit issue number 3, you hit letters where they're talking about this series. And the word from Dark Horse was that it was very extreme on both sides of it. There was people that loved the Sam Keith art, and then there was people that absolutely hated it and thought that it didn't fit and what the hell are you doing? You ruined the whole thing. Cooking stream, burger prep, and pudding. Okay, yeah, that's right. Yes, because I saw a bunch of the cooking stream. I haven't watched the burger one, the barbecue one. I happen to love Sam Keith's art. I think Sam Keith, this is obviously in hindsight, one of the things that people were talking about in the letters pages were that the first 2 volumes, the first one was black and white, and then in volume 2 they introduced color. Beauvais does a lot of airbrushing, if you've seen any of that stuff. So there was some color, but it was still very, very moody. This, people were complaining about like his character design and how it didn't really fit the world. At the time, I can see that being a thing. If you've read the first 2 volumes and you like that, this would be pretty abrupt. For somebody like me, and now with all the hindsight of what they did with kind of the Aliens miniseries, where they had a lot of different creative teams working on Aliens books. I fucking love this book. Sam Keith is a ridiculously good artist, and I really, really like his style here. There's stuff that's absolutely Sam Keith, but there's stuff here that's also kind of Mark Schultz, Xenozoic Tales, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. And then there's this kind of nod to kind of 50s EC comics as well too with this story. It follows Newt and Ripley. They didn't have the rights to use Sigourney Weaver's likeness, but this is Ripley here because they also talk about that in the letters, that because somebody says doesn't look anything like Sigourney Weaver. So I assume that you didn't have the rights, to which the editor's response was yes, we did not. So we could not make her look like Sigourney Weaver. And then there's very Sam Keith looking characters like this here. That's a Sam Keith profile if I've ever seen one, you know. So it's such a good mix, and his use of the page I think is really great. He does some stuff. Maybe it's in issue 3 here. Let's see if I can find that example. Maybe not. Maybe it was issue 2. Well, I mean, here's a sort of an example here. The use of like the white space when you'd maybe expect darkness and space and kind of claustrophobia. He uses this kind of, he changes the shape of some of even the panels for the page layout. Where was that one? I thought that was in issue 2 or 3, unless I just didn't turn enough pages here. There was one page that just really stood out to me. It's going to bother me. I should try to keep these things checked. But the story overall is pretty great. Sigourney Weaver or Ripley rather, is dealing with a lot of feelings of the life that got taken from her because she got drawn into this whole thing. They talk about what happened to kind of Newt feels like she was abandoned by Ripley. Yeah, Ripley looks hotter, which is very difficult to do because Sigourney Weaver, especially in that first one, is an absolute fox. Fuck me, man. Where's that goddamn page? Anyway, I'm not going to be able to find it, so I'm just going to give up in one sec as I do one last riveting flip through a comic that nobody can see me doing. It's riveting YouTubing here, people. God damn, this bothers me. Anyway, walk away from it. Walk away from it. So issue number 4, we'll have a look at a couple pages. So that's kind of the basic premise of it. And it's this sort of, they're going to get the queen. The idea, again, is that the queen is communicating with her children and wants her children back. And then once they do, they're going to take over Earth. So they're going to kidnap the queen, bring her to Earth, so they can get all of the aliens that are already there to come to one location and they can fucking nuke them all, is the very, very basic premise. Solid writing, solid story all around. But like I said, for me, the art is just unbelievable. Mark Verheiden is the writer, and he was the writer also on those first 2 volumes. This is from 1990 from Dark Horse. So, I mean, I feel like I say it every single time we look at some Dark Horse stuff. I continue, even after all of these years, I continue to be kind of amazed by the breadth of things that Dark Horse did and the kind of the comics that they were putting out. They really just hit all of these areas, like whether it was like some niche things like Cheval Noir, reprinting European comics, or like Concrete, or doing franchises like Predator and Aliens and stuff. It's pretty goddamn impressive. And then just doing these odd little one-offs, whether it's like a 2-issue miniseries or single issues, or there was just so much that I feel like they accomplished in their time that it's pretty goddamn impressive. Again, with this hindsight of, you know, what some of these companies become and what's maybe kind of happened with the landscape of comics in some areas. Alien 3 was terrible. I actually left the theater. I just rewatched Alien, the first one, or Alien. I guess I don't need to say the first one because I said Alien I think it was last year. I've seen that one quite a few times, and that one really stuck with me as just as good as the first time I saw it. I think I ended up watching Aliens and wasn't as taken by that one. I haven't made it to 3 because I do want to rewatch everything, because I would like to see the show, but I would like to kind of relive all that stuff. So yeah, 20 years later to watch it, found it much better. Yeah, and that sometimes happens too, for sure. Um, so another one which I'm enjoying, but this issue I found very confusing. This is Dust to Dust. J.G. Jones and Phil Bram, Image Comic. This is issue number 6. In general, I'm really digging this. And again, I think the biggest draw for me is this beautiful kind of dry, dusty looking art that's associated with this book. The thing that jumped out at me this time, and I don't know if it has to this degree previously, is the abrupt kind of changing of scenes. It starts off pretty run of the mill, but as the book goes on, it kind of shifts locations even near the end of a page or right on the next facing page. And it seems to do it so abruptly. I found myself confused a number of times of what we were looking at and who we were talking to. The style is great, but I find that some of the women's faces and the main characters, they're pretty similar. They're a little too similar, where I kind of was losing track of which character we were following. There's been some mysterious deaths in this dusty old southern town. There's a reporter from the big city that's come down to talk about the town and is kind of discovering maybe there's a bit of a darker history to this town. The usual kind of premise for some of these things. But it's done really well because we also have this character that sort of looks like the original Sandman, who we've been introduced to already, but at the end of this issue, we get sort of this big splash page, almost like we haven't seen this guy before or something. So it's strange that he's been introduced and we don't really have that much more information about him until this moment. So overall, this is a damn good book to be picking up. But this issue sort of lost me. It also has been a little bit between issue 5 and issue 6 coming out. So I may have been a little, it's one of those things. Some books you need kind of this really consistent release. Yeah, it's a good read, but maybe it would read better in a trade just to kind of keep track of what the heck is going on. And then for the one that I'm always most excited about, Rasa reminded me that it was out. We happened to go to my parents' house today, and we drive by the big comic shop in town to get there. So stopped in to get Dust to Dust and the final issue of this first story arc from Martian Manhunter, Absolute Martian Manhunter. And oh man, what a fucking doozy. I absolutely, I am in love with this book. I think the Zatanna book was great. I'm just getting to the credits page here so I can make sure that I put, oh, it's backwards. That's right, because they do this gimmick again. Let's see, can I read that? Putting it up to the light. Danny Camp and Javier Rodriguez are the writer and artist, and they did the Zatanna miniseries last year that I was a big fan of. This one is better than that one, I would say. This one sort of, it deals with, because Martian Manhunter is kind of like this inner voice almost, is the way that it's being treated. There's a white Martian as well too that is kind of corrupting this town. And people are acting on their darkest impulses and things like that. So it's this idea of kind of struggling with, just the shit that's all around us, right? Which relates to our world 100%. This is the panel for tonight's avatar for it there. I love this book. I love the storytelling. I love the art. I love the coloring. I love the kind of chances that he's taking on the art. All throughout. Like stuff like this is really, really great. Stuff like this is fantastic as well too. So it just shows kind of some of the ingenuity and some of the things you can do in comics, like referencing art styles. Not that he's the first person to play with page layout, but there's a real sense of kind of fun throughout this whole thing. even though the story at times is pretty damn dark, it's such a good fucking book, man. The one thing I would say is, the one thing I would say, yeah, a Martian Manhunter movie would be pretty incredible. The only thing I'd say about this is because it's so popular, it got picked up for another, I think, 6 issues, and I'm mildly worried of what those next 6 issues are going to be. With something like this, I imagine this is something that was written quite a while ago, and kind of honed, I'm hoping. So I'm curious where they're going to go from here, because this does make such a solid 6 issue story arc that where do you go from here if it's not going to Video Homicide? How's it going? Where are you going to go from here if it's not going to be a continuing story that's maybe going to run like 40 issues or something? Like, this doesn't necessarily feel like a chapter one to a bigger story, even though there is a much bigger story they could tell with this guy's family. I feel like this isn't really this doesn't feel like a first part of a story arc. Even though it's open, it does feel kind of like a one and done. I don't know if that's going to work, but can't really. So they did this in one of the other issues as well. You hold up the page to a light, and then they've got this art on the back and writing on the back that's reversed, so you can sort of look through the page and see kind of what's underneath the surface of some of the characters, right? So nice little gimmick, but man, oh man, highly recommended. 70 years old in November. Crazy. Um, Dan Elson, how you doing? Uh, Such a good book, man. Such a good book. Highly suggests you get it in trade. I would honestly say though, if you can hunt down the single issues, it's fun to read in this format. So I'm so glad that those 6 issues did so well together. Really, really nice work. And the last one that I have started reading tonight, and then I'll show you some things that I picked up the other day. I don't usually put those in bags, but I did for this one. I finally got my hands on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I talked about it a few weeks ago. I've read the first 2 issues in this, and I love it already. So, which is odd for me to say because I'm not really a Superman, Supergirl fan. I don't care enough even to not care about the characters. You know what I mean? It's just something that's very, very much off my radar. There's a couple of Superman stories that I like, just like everybody else. But I'd say that overall, the characters don't really intrigue me. I do love this one, though. There's shades of kind of Jason Aaron's Thor at the beginning here, where she's escaped the yellow sun so she can get her powers depleted so she can go and get wasted for her 21st birthday. I think it's her 21st birthday. She just wants to go and get fucking shit faced and annihilated. So she travels to another planet just for that reason. So the reason I picked this up is because of the Tom King Bilquis Everly pairing. They did the Helen of Windhorn book from last year that I was a huge fan of. Um, Beautiful, gorgeous style, gorgeous. Yeah, she right at the end of the movie, the first Superman, Elder God. Yeah, or this recent Superman. Gorgeous art style, just like it is in the Helen book, and that's the main reason that I'm here. I don't have an extreme opinion on Tom King either way. I know that I've read some stuff that I've really liked from Tom King. I haven't read it all, so I hear that there's some stuff that maybe is just garbage. But the stuff that I've read, I've enjoyed to one degree or other. And I think honestly, he's also one of those writers that can kind of get some really good artists. Because Human Target, as much as I enjoyed the story, again, I was there for the Smallwood art, so it's the artist that really draws me into these things, and then his story just kind of works. So I'm very much looking forward to this. This collects the entire 8 issue miniseries of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. So I'm 2 issues in, and I'm really digging it. It's a revenge story, basically, but then it also is going to touch on Supergirl's, I guess, feelings of regret that she didn't go after the people that destroyed her planet, etc. Yeah, so overall, a really goddamn good start. Got to be better than the movie version. Yeah, I wasn't crazy about the movie. I think the thing that worked for me the best out of that Superman movie was that the messaging from his parents that got cut off, and this idea that no, they did send you to Earth because you were supposed to dominate the planet and you were supposed to, I like that little bit of twist, especially because it sort of plays with current politics and stuff. It's pretty close to Under the Surface. Yeah, I loved Helen. If anything was going to get me to read a Supergirl book, this team would do it 100%, and that's the only reason that I'm reading it, because of this team. So far so good, Dan. If you see it, pick it up for sure. So that's it for the stuff that I've been reading. A couple of the things I managed to get my hands on when I went to my other shop to pick up my meager pull list. There was a couple of things on the shelf. So the new issue of Kaya, I haven't read it yet. This is issue, what, 29 now? Yeah, so that one is out. The new issue of Seasons, issue number 7. In our chat yesterday, Rasa was saying that she's dropped this book, so she's not picking up anymore. 6 was kind of one of my favorite issues of the run so far, so I'm going to give it another issue or two's chance just to see where it goes from there. I'm very curious. But it's kind of on the chopping block for me as well too, even though I don't get too much. Gatchaman issue number 11. I have a few issues, like a number of issues from this kind of main title. What the heck was the miniseries called? Something Earth. That one didn't blow me away, but I want to give this one a chance because of the art. I like the art style in it, but this is another one that's kind of on the verge of maybe I just wait and get a trade of it instead. Monkey Meat issue number 5. I've read issue number 1, and I think I read parts of issue number 2. I haven't read any of the other issues. It's another one where I love the presentation of the book. This is on newsprint. I love Junie Baugh's art. I just did not give a single shit about the story in the first issue. I wasn't interested in it. I didn't follow it. Maybe that's unfair and I should give it another chance. But I just love his style so much. And I just want to support a comic like this out there that's kind of this one-man anthology where even most of the ads are fake. They're all kind of part of this universe, that it's hard to pass this up. But and it's also a thick book. This isn't a thin book for $4.99. Oh, and this is the last issue, 5 of 5. So there we go. So now it's maybe a good chance as any to dive in and try to tackle this whole thing from beginning to end. This is, I think, the second series. Rasa recently found the first series, I think, at her library. And then the one that surprised the hell out of me, The Jungle, Keenan Marshall Keller and Tom Neely. Keenan, I think, I didn't say Keenan, but Keenan Marshall Keller. The Humans was the original book, a gang of biker apes, and it was great fun. I really, really dug it. I know that they've been talking about bringing back these characters in this story for quite a while, but I kept just hearing talk about it, and it just never seemed to come true until now. And it's magazine size to boot, and this is issue number 1, so it's not a one shot. We get a couple of color pages off the top, and then it goes, yes, humans, Dan, humans. And then it goes to black and white for the rest of it. It's a beefy goddamn issue as well too, so I'm super excited about this because, like I said, the humans book I really, really dug. It was a lot of fun. I think it was one of those two that there were some bands doing some music for the humans as well too, wasn't it? If I'm remembering right. I don't know if it was a different band for each issue or if there was just a couple of bands that were doing music based on kind of the comic or the world anyway. So there you go. So this is from Uncivilized Books. The cautionary tale is that this sucker is $10, but like I said, it's magazine size. It's pretty beefy, so it's worth it. Dan, Uncivilized Books is who's putting that one out. The same people that do The Sickness I don't know if that's showing up, but there you go. Yeah, up at the top. What did I miss? 420 is back. Evening 420. So those are kind of the new ones that I picked up. And then at this was from 204 Comics. It was a day to kind of dig through the bins. Found a couple of things, aka Outcast. It was $3, and that was the cover. And I think it says 1988 in the corner. So there's going to be some things that are just no-brainers for me. Let me see. Just back up here. I think I missed some chat. Loved Helen. That was in a story before, I believe. Okay. Jor-El, the evil version. Good to know. I didn't know that. For the Superman movie. Yeah, I got those Monkey Meat issues and was pretty let down by the stories. The first volume was better. Okay, well, that's good to know. So maybe I need to dig into the first volume. It just passed 420 here. Well, there you go. Let's see. So, 80s black and white boom kind of comic that looks like this. Pretty much, you don't have to tell me twice. And then when you open it up and you see pages like this, that just seals the deal. So very excited to dig into this one. I don't know what the hell is going to happen here, but you know it's going to be good. So there you go. And like I said, this was 1988, this one, and it was put out by Orestes Comic Company out of San Diego, California. Written and directed by Reginald Mitzel, director of cinematography Russell Wolvek. Ooh, hoity fucking toity. So that just means it's going to be even better than I originally thought, with that kind of bullshit darting at the front. And then I got a stack of fucking Appleseed books that I was missing. Appleseed, the book that is the most difficult to track out of anything that these motherfuckers ever put out. I don't know why it has to be so goddamn difficult. In CLZ, it's the volume doesn't refer to. So this is book 2. Basically, volume when it's on the cover is the issue number, but they decided to do volume 2. So it was really confusing because the shop had it sorted by volume, but it should actually have been sorted by book. And then in the fucking ZLZ app, it's sorted by fucking book and not volume, but it says volume. And it took me for fucking ever to find out which issues I didn't have. It's one of those books I've read the first volume. I have the collection of it. Really enjoyed it. It's one that gets kind of a lot of praise. It's rare that I find this many of them out there in one shot. So I just grabbed every single one that I didn't have. There's a few left in the bin there, but I grabbed probably about half of them. I think I finished off maybe now another. I'm hoping that I've now got all of kind of book 2 anyway, so I can start or I can continue reading. And as much as it was great reading that trade, this stuff I think is probably a little more fun reading in single issues. Yeah, these are from 204 there, 420. Striving to be Canon Films, etc. Honorable 80s black and white boom goal. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so these are from 204 Comics. And like I said, there is still some left. And $3 a piece seemed very reasonable to me. So grab those. Bobby is back as well, too, there, 420. I don't know if you've been there since he's been back helping out, but he's back on rotation. So that's the stuff that I grabbed. I got myself a 4-track recorder for those of you who give a shit. Found it on Facebook Marketplace for an absolute steal because they go for an absolute buttload. So it's a Tascam 424 Mark II Porta Studio. It's out in the other room and it's too beefy and hefty to haul into here, but I'm very much excited for this. I used to have a smaller version of a Tascam. It only had one input, and it was a 4-track as well, not an 8-track. This is a 4-track as well. And I used that thing to death. It was such a good little machine. I love the kind of reacting to digital versus reacting to a cassette tape when you're recording and stuff is such a different experience. So I'm really looking forward to trying to reestablish my setup here to do some recording in this room, because I'm starting to get a pretty sweet setup on this side of it. I need to deal with the space a little better, but I'm very, very excited to use this thing, and kind of try stuff out. I've got some tape loops and things that I can kind of record other layers on now with this, but I can't wait. When I was getting deep back into comics, I was gifted the entirety of Appleseed and foolishly re-gifted it before reading it. Definitely regret it now, but it went to a great guy who loved manga. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's nice to pass stuff off to people that are going to appreciate it for sure. And like I said, I've heard good things about it, so I'm excited about it. 4-track, sweet. My guitarist did 4-track demos from the 90s all the way into the 2010s. That's amazing. Um, 90s is when I was doing it mostly. I think that machine traveled with me when we went to Ontario as well too. Um, so yeah, very, very excited to get this motherfucker on the floor. And the instruction manual from those times, they remind me of kind of like the SPI war games that I play, because it has very similar kind of layouts. The paper is yellowed. It's that kind of, it's heavier stock paper. So there's something really that I just love the tactile nature. Again, I've recorded on my computer. I got nothing against recording on a computer whatsoever. I think it is just fine for me personally. I like the ability to kind of react in a different way and have this more tactile experience. The guy that I bought it from, he said that his uncle was a bit of a hoarder and it had never been used. He even gave me some sealed cassette tapes. It still has, there's a remote control for it as well too, that you can kind of set up and have sitting beside you to start recording. So it's in mint condition. Like it looks like it's never been touched, that we were the first people to actually like hold the machine and open things and push play. That's how beautiful it is. For a fraction of the price, because online that shit goes for like $800-900 Canadian and then shipping on top of it. So anyway, that's it. If I remember, I'll pull it out for next time and I'll kind of show you the size of this monster. Um, I think that's it. Next weekend, I think I work on Saturday, so I believe Sunday will be okay to come back. I'm hoping to get some more reading done. I'm hoping I can finish that Supergirl, and then I've got a stack of stuff here. As always, I'm ready to read. I'm so old school with that stuff. I still tape live shows with DAT, mini disc, and mini DV. Yeah, I mean, I've still got some old. I think they're DAT tapes from when I was in film school and we were filming on this Canon X. I think it was a Canon XLS camera, sort of this long tubular looking thing. I loved that camera in film school. I thought that it looked really good because it didn't look as crisp as some of the other stuff that was even coming out at that time, because that would have been kind of 2000, I think, that I was going to that school, maybe 2001. Anyway, somewhere around that time is when I was there. Um, it was great, and I've still got a bunch of those tapes that we did projects on. We did a corporate video for Harry Rosen, which is a Canadian suit company. So that was part of this class, is getting to work with some people. We met a guy on the subway who had a band, so we ended up filming a music video for him and his band as part of our course. They used it as an opportunity to get a music video shot by a bunch of students that didn't really know what the hell they were doing, which was super fun. That was just kind of a fluke. So it had its moments, that film course, but some of that stuff I would cringe to kind of look at too closely. I miss old tech, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the good thing, that a lot of it is still out there, and not all of it. There was a period of time where you couldn't find a Walkman to save your life because a new generation had discovered them. So I used to find them in thrift stores, even cassette like radios, like small ghetto blasters or whatever. You used to find those all the time. And then there came a period where they were always getting snatched up because a new generation discovered it and people were taking them off the shelves, because they were dirt cheap. So it sort of goes and ebbs and flows just like everything else. But I'm so glad that there's a, because even when I was watching, I did a little dig on YouTube for this Tascam just to see what videos were out there, just to kind of see what people were doing with it. And there was a number of like younger people that were proudly showing off their recording studio and how much they love the Tascam. One of the things I didn't realize is that people use it to kind of patch their instruments through, and why they do that is because you can max out the levels and it distorts the signal in this really beautiful way, in such a way that there's a company that did an emulation pedal, guitar pedal, to kind of recreate that crunch from this. I think it was from the Mark II Tascam that I've got, to create that distortion kind of sound and crunch on an effects pedal, so you could just have it stand alone. And they did an amazing job. He did a kind of side-by-side comparison of the sound, and I never even thought of that as something to do, just using it to run your instruments through and then sort of peak the levels a little bit to get that kind of natural distortion with this old equipment. I'm just clueless with computer stuff. So I have all this physical media piling up, but I got to get with the times and figure out how to transfer it. I have many hundreds of live shows taped. Dan Elson, I remember you telling me this before. I'm pretty sure you told me this before. You really do. I wish we lived in the same city, because I could help you out with that in a breeze. We could get all that stuff transferred for you, because that stuff should be, especially if it's live shows, that stuff needs to be preserved, man. The sound is so authentic. 100%. I see Weed Eater mentioned at the top of the chat. We opened from them back in the day. Might have filmed that one. Dude, that would be incredible. We did mention Weed Eater at the top, and I was saying I've seen him now probably, I don't know, I want to say 4 times, 3-4 times, and they're one of my favorite bands to see live. They've really got a shtick. They've really got some stuff down. Their songs are so fucking good. Their stage presence is amazing. It must have been 3 times, because I saw them with a different drummer each time, and I do distinctly remember 3 different drummers. And they were just incredible to see. And that's exactly right, Elder God. It's got to go on the web. We got to save our past. I think one could use capture card or streaming software to capture. Yeah, it depends on the format that you have on. You'll have to have some format to play it. And then depending on what the outputs are, you could find some connectors for sure online. I had one that I got for transferring VHS tapes, because I had a bunch of live shows on VHS tapes, not filmed by me, but traded back in the day, that I wanted to get on the computer. So there's probably some sort of adapter that'll transfer from that media directly onto your computer. Yeah, we played with them at a grungy punk rock pizza joint called Monstros. There are also VCRs which convert to DVD at good resolution, easy to then rip to a computer. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, let's talk about old tech. This is a start of a new channel here, fellas. Thanks very much for watching. And like I said, I'm hoping that next Sunday I'll be back and we'll have some more shit read. And I'm hoping there'll be some comics in the mail. I'm waiting for a couple of things. Waiting for the a care package or a trade from Dan. Waiting for my comic shop, and waiting for, what the hell is the comic called? Dummy, the Dummy zine. There was an issue, I think it was issue 1, where they talked about Pee-wee's Playhouse, so I ordered a copy of that one. They have some interviews in there, so I'm very much looking forward to that stuff. Hopefully that shows up this week and we can talk some new books next week. Right on, everybody. We'll talk to you.